If you're making a superhero movie, you're probably building up to one thing: an epic fight scene. Superheroes have given us some of the most inventive fights in action movies, but none of them are better than the ones you're about to see. So hey, I'm Nervous Nick for Screw Attack's Top 10 Superhero Movie Fight Scenes.
Number 10.
Here's a tip I've learned after watching so many of these superhero movies. If you smell a fight scene about to happen and you see a train, something really good is about to happen. When my boy Wolverine started poking people with those claws and wound up on top of a Japanese bullet train, magnifico. Because usually when Wolverine fights, it's just him versus a bunch of non-mutant normies or angrily throwing himself at just one dude. Those are still fun to watch, but this train battle is something else entirely. The train is more than just a set piece here. Wolverine almost uses it like another weapon in his arsenal. Plus, the lack of music really adds a lot to the high-speed intensity. Truth be told, it was a toss-up between this and the Lady Deathstrike fight in X2, but ultimately, the train just made for an X-Men fight unlike any other. That's what you call getting baited. Hard. He died.
Number 9.
Superhero films are white-hot popular in this day and age, but you know who was at the forefront of this whole trend? Freaking Blade! Not just Spidermans, not to X-Men's, I'm talking Wesley Snipes as the half-vampire who kills vampires! And of course, you've gotta kick off a movie like this with an impressive fight. Blade crashes a vampire rave by murdering everyone with weapons that turn them into cartoon skeletons. But he does it all with so much flair and creativity that the club fight still holds up to this day. Kinda makes me want to pin a dude to a wall and fist pump in celebration.
Number 8.
It's coming up on a decade old as his top 10's being made, but I had almost forgotten about Watchmen. Is there a top 10 worthy fight in there? Not so much in the theatrical version, but in that extended version, oh, for sure. The death of Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl, tells a whole story about a former hero who's met his match, but goes down swinging just like in his glory days. It's weird feeling so nostalgic for a character the movie doesn't really spend much time with, but they somehow did it with a fight that's barely over a minute long. And there's really nothing else like it in any movie that calls itself a superhero film. It's uncomfortable, it's jarring, and most of all, it's really sad, man.
Number 7.
It's pretty hard to ignore a fight scene from a movie about a bunch of heroes all fighting each other. Captain America Civil War's airport battle has a lot of creativity going for it, but it's just too low stakes to put in the top 10. It's pretty hard to be on the edge of my seat in a fight where everyone's constantly apologizing.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Sorry, Cap, this won't kill you, but it ain't gonna tickle either.
Look, I really don't want to hurt you.
We haven't met yet. I'm Clint.
We're still friends, right?
No. The real fight is the emotional climax when Iron Man tries to kill Bucky after learning that Bucky killed his parents. And when Cap steps in, the punches hit so much harder. Not just because of how heartbroken Tony is, but because you're watching the saddest movie breakup since Max and Roxanne in an extremely goofy movie. Hey, have you seen them together recently? No, you haven't. Plus, the fight taking place on a giant, concrete soda can, and that one shot everybody thinks of, both make the whole scene a real standout.
Number 6.
Some of the best fights in film are revenge fights. Just like that hallway fight from... well, I'm not saying the title, but it deserves to be here. Underestimating this 10-year-old murderer is the last mistake a lot of bad guys make in this movie. After Hit Girl's dad was brutally murdered, she was all fired up and ready to make everyone pay. You know she's pissed, you know a lot of dudes have to die, but that doesn't mean it can't be a ton of fun to watch. Hit Girl's bad reputation lets loose some of the most impressive fight choreography on this whole list. She stabs a dude's hand with Scorpion's Mortal Kombat spear and makes him shoot himself in the face! And you know that the editor was having a blast when he put in one of the coolest gun reloads ever in a movie. It's one of those fights that's short but sweet. And since Daredevil's hallway fight wasn't from a movie, we had to get just one hallway fight scene in.
Number 5.
June 2nd, 2017. I'm in the theater and I cannot stop smiling at the sight of Wonder Woman crossing no man's land like an absolute boss. Man, that scene just makes me want to, I don't know, go punch a dude in the neck. I'm sorry, I get all hyped up when I watch it. But when those enemy soldiers get all exploded, the fight isn't over yet. Wonder Woman incapacitates 2 whole rooms full of armed and angry Germans in a gorgeously choreographed slow-mo spectacle. And then she flips a tank with her freaking hands. And I'm sorry, I'm trying my hardest not to just brainlessly geek out here, but bro, that long take of the lasso fight? So neat.
Number 4.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if they could become something more. So when Marvel spent years building toward it, they could fight a battle we'd never seen before. There's no mistaking just how big of an impact the Battle of New York has had, not just on Marvel, but on the film industry itself. The finale of The Avengers was like a real-life cultural event. The MCU is as colossal as it is now, partly because this enormous 30-minute-long war actually worked. The team-up moments are made of pure joy, and that one continuous fly-through shot is still one of my favorite moments. But the Battle of New York isn't just a fanboy's dream come true. It's legitimately a well-made fight. Joss Whedon built this battle like it was its own separate movie, with a beginning, a middle, and a climax. At first, the heroes are overwhelmed for a while, but then they come together and start fighting back. And after they're backed into a corner, they make one final desperation play that ultimately saves the world. Is it the greatest fight ever in a superhero film? Not quite, but it's definitely one of the absolute most important.
Number 3.
Everyone knows Batman for having no superpowers and yet keeping pace with the big boys anyway. He's got a ton of memorable moments of triumph, but one of his most iconic fights was also one of his most important losses. The Dark Knight Rises interpretation of the Batman vs. Bane fight is just the way it should be. Quiet and brutal. This fight is over before it ever begins. Even when Batman lands hits that would down any normal man, it's like watching Bruce's funeral before he's even been killed. Catwoman and Bane's minions can only look on in mournful silence as he's beaten to the brink of death. And then, the big moment happens. Ow! It's uncommon enough for superhero fights to end with the hero having to hold an L like this, but even among the ones that do, this one is by far the king. This fight is great, but can someone please explain to me how you can rob a stock exchange? Or why those transactions weren't just nullified? Or can you at least just give me a teeny hint how Batman got back to Gotham? It's been bugging me since 2012.
Number 2.
I'm gonna be honest, my favorite scene in Captain America the Winter Soldier is Nick Fury's escape. No doubt. Maybe that counts as a fight to you, but car chases are easily a whole genre of action scene on their own. One thing I know we're gonna agree on though, that highway fight is top 10 material. It starts the way I like my fight scenes to start. A screaming man getting splattered against a semi-truck. From there, it's Black Widow, Falcon, and Cap all fighting Winter Soldier's onslaught with plenty of clever moments, wicked sound design, and some of the very best choreography in the MCU to date. I can't tell you how many times I've replayed just that knife part. Like, do you see how he switches hands all quickly and stuff? Oh, I love it!
It's number 1.
Before there was Thanos, before the big team-ups, before the interconnected mega franchise films that admittedly are fun to watch, there was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. Look, Spidey Homecoming was a really fun movie and all, but Spider-Man 2 and its legendary train fight still hold up so freaking well. I mean, unless you just really hate Tobey Maguire's fight efforts. This is superhero action at its very best. Emotional stakes, a compelling villain, an exciting main set piece, an awe-inspiring score, Peter's glutes, and choreography that still shows the rest how it's done all these years later. The longer it goes on, the higher the stakes get, until it's finally capped off with the all-time classic train-stopping scene. But also, the way Spidey and Doc Ock trade blows and even just move around makes this fight very uniquely a superhero one. You're not gonna get this in any other kind of action film. And hey, I told you at the very beginning, superheroes and trains are a great combination. For our secret number 11, who else can absorb a book's knowledge at a touch besides Meteor Man? That's not a rhetorical question. The answer is this guy. His name's Simon. Anyway, the film's end is a battle of the books which goes everywhere from Bruce Lee's martial arts to a superpowered slugfest to the most lethal form of fighting there is, fashion runway modeling.